Hello, this is an actor's guide to performing Shakespeare today. My name is Anna Doepp, and I'm the artistic producing director at Lampstand Theater, a site-specific theater that often performs Shakespeare in the greater Seattle area. Now, the first thing to note is that we have iambic pentameter. We hear this a lot. Maybe you don't understand what that means, so I'm here to quickly break it down. There are 5 syllables and 5 syllables equaling 10, 5 that are stressed, 5 that are unstressed, within a de-dum, 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 de-dum pattern. And Shakespeare uses this consistently throughout all of his plays, which helps you get into the poetic rhythm of how you should be speaking the lines. And so we want to lean into that iambic pentameter. Now, only about 70% of Shakespeare is in iambic, and so this is not consistent, but often we do want to actually count through our syllables so that we can know what we're reading, where we're at, and understand how each of the words within one line should be spoken to make sure that it is that 10. Now, when we're reading through lines, you'll often see that we have Shakespeare, it's not written out in sentences in these full long paragraphs like regular plays. Rather, there's all of these different lines, and it's important to note that we pause with punctuation. We don't just pause at the end of a line. Rather, we want to find the period, the comma, or the colon to know when to pause. A few more things to note within the structure of just the basic text is that sometimes Shakespeare needs to elongate words or shorten them in order to fit into that 10-syllable structure. For instance, we see the word even often written as EV''N, even, even, so that in a sentence we can get that as one syllable when sometimes he needs that to fit within 10. Another example is the word overwrought. Shakespeare often writes this with an apostrophe after the O, which means that we're skipping a syllable, or wrought. Still means overwrought. He's still trying to get to that concept, but he uses this a lot. So when you see apostrophes, be aware that maybe we're trying to add or take away an extra syllable. Now, within a basic structure, of course, we have 10, as I mentioned, which is very common, but we want to point out sometimes when there is 11. Sometimes we can't shorten a syllable and put it into a structure, and so we need to recognize there's intentionally 11 syllables here. Shakespeare's trying to point something out. The best example of this is to be or not to be. That is the question. So we have that final 11th syllable. That's obviously very important within that play, and so you want to make note of little changes or things that might appear, such as that. Now, Shakespeare uses a lot of wordplay throughout his plays, specifically talking about comedy of errors. We see the character of Dromio, or if you're doing it gender bent, Dromia, and this character uses so much wordplay, specifically having multiple definitions of a single word that is used within a phrase, and they're often put or made into metaphors in order to just have flowery wordplay. And it's important to remember that within Shakespeare, this is poetry. We're not trying to force the concept of what Shakespeare is into any other type of play or format. Rather, we get to enjoy his flowery words. We get to enjoy all of the fun that Shakespeare brings because his words are poetic. And the best part to recognize, once you get over kind of that mind gap of like, this is different, we need to recognize that he takes very simple plots and very simple concepts and adds flowery poetic wording around it to explain these elaborate things without actually just plainly saying what it is. So it's important to know what you're saying so you can communicate the flowery words to the audience, but they still can completely understand what's going on. For an audience to understand Shakespeare, it's 100% on the actors in the way they're delivering their lines and interacting with the other characters. The two last things I'll point out is that something that can help an actor is looking at the very last word of a phrase within a section to understand what the content Shakespeare is talking about. For instance, we have a section from Comedy of Errors, Act 1, Scene 2, starting with line 103. Antipholus, or Antiphola, once again if you're doing gender bent, says, "Dark-working sorcerers that change the mind, soul-killing witches that deform the body, disguised cheaters, prating mountebanks, and many such like liberties of sin. If it proves so, I will be gone the sooner. I'll take to the centaur to go seek this slave. I greatly fear my money is not safe." If we look at the very last word of each line, we get the content of what Shakespeare is trying to talk about. Mind, body, mountebanks, sin, sooner, slave, and safe. And just for fun, we get a little alliteration in there as well. The last thing we can use is a question concept. Each sequential line can often answer an implied question at the end of each phrase. So you can use this as an actor, as a technique to both understand the lines in which you are saying, as well as how to deliver them. For instance, same section. If it proves so, I will be gone the sooner. Where? I'll go to the centaur to seek the slave. Why? I greatly fear my money is not safe. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that this was helpful.